All right, everyone, welcome to the Ryan Ripken Show. We were trying to get Instagram going here, episode 38, by the way. So we have a full house here. Before I explain what's been going on, because to be honest, I don't know what the hell's going on. But we're going to go around the room real quickly. We got Rocco back in his chair. Rocco, you can roll your sleeve down there, bud.
Huh? Which one?
Oh, my goodness.
He's just too swole. It's going to break off.
What? No. Anyway.
You're a good kid. And we got Zach back. No hat, Zach.
No hat. I just had to put my earbuds back in after we panicked a little bit as the countdown was going. I'm not going to lie.
If people could see behind the scenes here, Zach was right next to me here trying to turn off the volume. So the Instagram live was going live through the computer, and it was just causing complete chaos. And we didn't know how to own the chaos. So maybe that's a good segue for Brad. Where are you?
What's up?
There he is.
Oh, baby.
I saw Zach scrambling around back there. I don't know what that was all about, but I guess we'll have to chat about that later.
Yeah.
Well, we are live on Instagram as well. We're all live on
the pressure was big when you see the countdown going until we're live, like on screen, and we were trying to figure out how to click any button to get off the sound. And you just kept seeing it was like 19, 18. I was like, I got to go back to my seat.
Yeah, it was a shit show, to say the least. And we're going to figure this out, people. We are. This is holy shirts and pants. A lot of things. And my brain's not properly functioning maybe as well as it should right now.
Is it ever?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it depends, but you're right. Your guy here took a quick 24-hour business trip, some would call it, down to Duval County. Jags Ravens was electric. I'll dive into that, but as always, we got a lot to get into. And if you're new to the show, welcome. Ryan, Rocco, well, there he is. Rocco, you were on air, so don't worry about it.
Flipping you off, Zach.
I was so confused what you were doing over there. What are we talking about?
Well, I was just saying, for anyone that's new to the show, welcome. And if you're new to it, hit that like and subscribe button. We do this every Monday and Thursday. We're going to keep adding on. We got a lot to talk about, though. We start off with a lot of spicy topics around really the sports world. And then we're going to take a ride on our Adams Jeep segment around Maryland, talk about Maryland sports. Obviously, the Ravens and Jacks played last night. The Orioles, there's a lot of news recently. I think people want to hear about that. Some people call it an early Christmas gift for the Orioles, and we'll dive into that. You guys probably all can guess what that means. And then we'll go around the NFL, and there's a certain former Ravens quarterback that's still just slinging it, both good and bad, and he's helping those Cleveland Browns up there in Ohio. But I guess we'll start off. Where do we want to start this off, guys?
Should we go story time?
Story time?
I think story time. Everyone wants to hear the Ripken story, the no drip home run trot story.
Okay, can we get some context with this, though? So you called me out.
Very well. Okay, this all started when Rocco on Twitter, what was it, Friday or Saturday, you posted a video of one of Ripken's home runs from Norfolk. Was it Norfolk?
Yeah, it was. It was your first and only home run that season. Great year at the bat for you, bud. Would you bat like 205?
I don't
sub 2.
You know what's funny is that I can get shit from a lot of people, from you of all people.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain your career batting average, Rocco?
Just
my career batting average? I mean, it can be looked at one way or another. It's either 0 or 1,000.
No, it can't be 1,000. This is the shit I'm talking about. And this is why, by the way, Rocco sets a great example for it. He's going to call out. Baseball is hard. And you're right, though. It was my only homer in Norfolk that year. But the context was I got roasted because I hit my home run, and I smoked it. I hit it well. And I didn't have enough swagger run around the bases. Is that what you're calling me out on, Zach?
It was disgusting. There was not a single bat flip. No players were disrespected on the home run trot. Not a single chain pop.
He didn't hit a shuffle step.
Yeah, no third base
rock, paper, scissors for the third base coach.
Yeah, there was nothing. And then the worst part is he gets to home plate. He just steps on the plate and walks away. There was no theatrics I've never seen.
Way to hype up your team there, Chief.
No, there was just no swagger.
What year was that, Rip?
It was 2021. And by the way, here for a second, Brad, you're hearing all this, right? I know you're not, but you can hear this.
I'm trying to find it.
Yeah, well, while you find it, so the context of it, I'm a big believer. If you're playing like dog shit, I have no right to back it up. And I was not playing well. I wasn't playing every day, and I couldn't get into a rhythm. But regardless, if you're not playing well, I sure as hell am not going to act like on one that I finally get a hold of that I have the right to talk. So I just put my head down. I went around the bases, hit the ball 108. Sorry about it. And that was it. That was it. I know you're trying to find the video. The story behind it, by the way, it was in Memphis. We played the Cardinals affiliate. And the night before I actually played, and I had
I got it.
You got it? Oh, thank
the
goodness.
video?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I got it.
Rip, by the way, you want to know what you hit that year? Do you want to take a guess?
It's like 180, 70.
It's 167.
Here we go.
There
we go.
Tommy has 3 strikeouts. First pitch to Ripken is a swing and a high fly, hit deep to right field. This is a no-doubt shot on the
Hopefully those kids are okay.
third. Ryan Ripken's
Look at this.
first
Not a
home
single
run of the
celly around third.
season
Wait for it.
is a
Wait for it. Wait
laser
for it.
beam
Nothing.
high over the wall and right.
Did
You
you?
high-fived your
Second
third
solo
base coach there.
out
Yeah.
of the game for Norfolk.
Nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
2-0 lead for
I'm just.
You did high
What's
five
going
your third
on?
baseman?
No, he high five. He did a very casual third base.
I
coach.
gave a yeah, it was a low 5. What the hell is this talking about here?
I just feel like more people should have been disrespecting the home run
Yeah,
company, especially if it's your
completely
only
agree.
one of the year.
Well,
I
don't
would've
think he
probably
knew it
stood
was
it.
his- Look, I'm a
Leg kick.
enjoy fucking rip as much as the next guy, but I don't
Who
really get
doesn't?
this one. I don't really get this.
Thank you.
one.
I just
Like,
need more swag. I grew up in a.
How did he
you
know that was going to be his only home run that year?
That's why you have to treat every home run like your only home run and disrespect the other team. Where did we?
Well, I'll say this.
I just keep thinking of
if
Bryce Harper.
if you watch the video, I look at it in the sense of when I hit it and the pitcher knows exactly like, oh shit, I messed up. That was for me the satisfaction. And I appreciate even Rick said with it. Acted like I've been there before is mainly like, okay, well, yeah, been there before, but also when you're not playing well, you do not go out in the field and act like your shit don't stink. Personally.
I like that.
And like that's just how I am. Dog Training Plus. Thank you. Appreciate it. This, do you want me to tell you the damn story? You're just gonna keep ripping me.
Well, no, get to that. I will say though, first off, I did not realize you had that. Someone pointed out that high of a leg kick. I was actually impressed by that. I did not-
The hip flexibility for your guy was impressive. You got it up there.
I did not. It must have been hard to like time a baseball with like you had to.
Imagine when we get the monitor in here and I get to demonstrate with the camera and I can really do the full body angle. I'll recreate the leg kick.
Rip, did you know that was gone off the bat? Was that a no-doubter for you?
Oh, no doubt.
All right.
No doubt.
And yeah, you didn't stand there and watch it.
Okay. Well, I hit it. You talked to me when you hit a ball 108 off the bat there, Zach. All right. But the story behind it real quickly, just because first off, baseball is so damn hard. And that's why I even get so much more locked in or dialed into when I see guys struggle. And I get it. It's their jobs. It's your professional. Like, if I didn't keep my job because I didn't play well enough to earn that right. Right. That's the reality. And that's the profession that we're in. But to do it is extremely hard. To play baseball, to hit a ball is so hard. But the story behind it, I was going through a rough time. I was dealing with a personal injury. And also I was pissed. I wasn't playing much. I wasn't playing well. And I was so disappointed in myself. And I kind of had and this is the reason why I'm telling the story. I had a kind of, oh, woe is me attitude going where I was like, everything's going wrong. And I actually remember me and my dad got into a heated conversation then because I was pissed off. And, essentially sugarcoating it, it was, what are you going to do about it next? Screw it, and excuse my language here, not really, but fuck it. You got one choice. You either can let that all affect you or you can move forward. And that night, I remember I sat in the clubhouse, one of the last guys, just had my sliders on, and I just did, 300 push-ups and drank tequila. so I just I would just do rotations, take some tequila, just sat there and just kind of thought. I'm like, all right, this
Did you
is
put in a spray bottle, like the Gatorade thing, like you did like 25 push-ups and like do the squirt bottle, like the tequila straight into the.
Hey, the guy's trying to tell a story here. How about you
Rocker, can we
keep it in check
This is a
for a few
talk
seconds?
show.
Continue, Rip.
This is a
We'd
talk
love to hear
show.
the end of this story.
Thank you. So
Thank you.
So I'm sitting there.
Sorry about that.
And I probably stayed for 2-3 hours maybe after the game. And I had nowhere else I wanted to be. And I was really just kind of reflecting on what I could do. And so the next day I said, you know what, no matter what happens here, this is my reset. And I woke up the next day though, because I hadn't tried to do 300 push-ups in a while. And when you're in the season, you're not trying to, bulk up, getting stronger. You're just trying to get through it. I was so damn sore. I was sore in my lats, my obliques were tight, obliques. And, but I had a freeness in my mind of saying, you know what, whatever happens, but I'm going to go under my terms and do it. And I'm going to continue to put my best foot forward. And sure enough, first pitch I saw of that game, I got to play that game, hit that rocket out. And I'm like, damn, if I can just keep that mentality all the time. Now, obviously, as Zach pointed out, Rocco, I didn't hit another homer the rest of the year. Thanks, Rock. But
I was just stating facts. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was going to be this feel-good sentimental story, and now I feel like an asshole for it. Thanks.
Oh my God.
Thanks a lot. So,
well, you know what? It makes sense. But that's the thing. I guess for what I've tried to focus on so much more is it's mindset. It's about, and I know that sounds corny as hell, and apparently I'm Mr. Corny according to you guys.
Yes.
But it really is, you have two choices in life. You can either get pissed off and say that you're being victimized by what's going on, or hear me out, you do some push-ups, you do some tequila, and you get back to work, because that's really the only thing you can do. And that was something for me when I look back. I don't have any regret for my work ethic and how much effort I put into it, and that's something I'm proud of. But one thing I do regret is that I wish I didn't go and let little shit bother me every single day. And that's why in this stuff, why we do this constantly, it's kind of, I feel like I prepared myself for this career in some cases. Like, I know that sounds stupid maybe, but that's where I'm going with this. So how
often did you work out in the season? Like, what was, like, obviously you have to keep some sort of regimen, but like how, like, often were you actually physically going in the weight room were you trying to even get strong like you just said, or was it more just, I want to keep what I have going right now?
It really depended on what felt right. In 2019, I hurt my oblique badly. I missed 6 to 8 weeks. I actually, when I got back from the injury, I just didn't really work out. I just made sure that my body felt good to get through the rest of the season. But typically you want to try to get 2 workouts in. It's kind of varied. Starting pitchers have their own cadence. Same with relievers. Yeah. Twice a week. But I'll tell you what, that's when, really at the end of the day, and that's the reality of it, you're not trying to get stronger during the season. You're just trying to maintain your ability and strength during it, because you're not going to go lift the house. You're not going to go and do all of that. You're just trying to make sure that you don't break down. That's essentially it. Ironically, I broke down a couple times, but that's a part of life. Enough about the Ryan feel good. Maybe no one feel good. Maybe my trot, no trot. Let's talk about some other topics here, because we had a lot to talk about here. First spicy topic, and I think we want to talk about it because it's entertaining in the sense that I don't think the guy that tweeted this out thought that this would go where it was. And I'm talking about former NFL player Rashard Mendenhall, Brad, kind of put out a tweet where he felt that he was being criticized on how his performance was and other people judging players. And needless to say, this conversation went in a million different ways, and it is now spreading like wildfire on social media.
This is the tweet of the year. I mean, we're about a week and a half away from 2024, and this is actually the tweet of the whole year,
without a doubt.
Rashard Mendenhall came out and tweeted, just went after people, specifically white people, and ended up saying that I'm sick of the white guys commenting on football. Y'all not even good at football. Can we please replace the Pro Bowl with all black versus all white bowl so these cats can stop trying to teach me who's good at football? I'm better than your GOAT. I just happened to find this interesting picture here on the left. As you guys can see, this is Super Bowl versus the Packers. And that is actually the white Clay Matthews knocking the ball out of Rashard Mendenhall's hands.
Yeah, I saw that picture underneath the tweet a lot.
So it started off as just this conversation. You can tell he's pissed off, and But what happened was now everyone's commenting on just really like
it became an entertainment aspect. He tweeted, I think, out of frustration, and like even later in like his next tweets, he talked about how, you know, he's just frustrated with people, kind of like what you were just talking about, people talking down and like criticizing these players and athletes that haven't been there, but yet so many guys, the Will Compton, JJ Watt, they took this and it became this, wait, who would start for these teams? And people have tried to create rosters, and it became this whole life of its own, and just okay, wait, this is a good question. What would happen? And that's not what Mendenhall meant by it at all, but it evolved into this brilliant like entertainment question of, okay, wait, how would we do this?
JJ Watt just quoting it and saying, "We'd get cooked at corner, not gonna lie. Nobody on our squad is covering Tyreek.
No one would."
And he's absolutely right.
And to be fair, no one in general is covering Tyreek Hill.
So it doesn't matter.
So,
exactly. It doesn't matter.
But Brad, I think we have a few reaction. There's the tweet, by the way. We get cooked at corner, not gonna lie. I mean, it's there.
And this is what we're supposed to. This is like the good part of the internet. When you take something and it becomes a healthy, funny debate like this. And yes, there are going to be people in this that are like, if you go through the comments, who are obviously offended and stuff. But for the most part, I feel like even though he didn't tweet it as something that he thought would be funny and turn into this big like phenomenon, people have for the most part taken it and been like, wait, hold up, this is funny. How can we do this? What would the roster be?
And I think we have go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say, so Dowie Baltimore Zone actually had some pretty good points that I feel like we can actually air out, and it's pretty hilarious. So take a look at this. I want to actually react and add some of my own team members too. So it is pretty fun, but take a listen.
This is your disclaimer to let you know that this is a racially driven conversation. So to all the people who don't see color, or why you gotta make everything about race? This video ain't for you, bro. So go ahead and keep scrolling, because I ain't trying to hear none of that crying in my comments. Now, for those who can actually talk about race without being easily offended and have fun with it, let's talk about it, bro, because this is a good topic. Listen, Rashard Mendenhall tweeted that white people aren't good at football, and to prove it, we should have a white versus black bowl. Now, as somebody who loves football, who loves to keep it real, and also is not racist, I think some of y'all got the white team up. Like, hey, listen, let's call it what it is. Some of y'all got the white team up. You mean to tell me if I could pick an all-white team of active players? Oh, at quarterback, I'm picking Josh Allen, a.k.a. my white Cam Newton with better throwing mechanics. I'm picking Christian McCaffrey, who I consider the best running back in football. Got the Triple Crown winner in Cooper Kupp. On the opposite side, I got a legend in his own right in Adam Thielen. And then at tight end, I got Travis Kelce, arguably the greatest tight end of all time. Ooh! Listen, bro, don't even get me started on the offensive line. Now, when it comes to the all-white team, that secondary going to be some bullshit. But besides that, pass rush, Max Crosby, the Bosa brothers, TJ Watt is really sick on that side, bro. Don't get it up. So I just want to say, to even things out, we got to put the biracial kids in the pool and let the teams draft. Because you can't just have Patrick Mahomes or Mike Evans. You got to draft them. So who do y'all think will win with these rules?
I love that. And, it was funny that
shout out him. He is a great follow. If you are not following him on Twitter, he is hilarious. Oh my God. Will Compton from Bussin' with the Boys said that for those who are biracial, if they're cool with the word, we all know what it is, then they would go play for the black team, and if they weren't, then they would go play for the white team. That cracked me the hell up. It was so funny. I just love that, like, most of Twitter, aka X, is like unifying over this, and it is amazing.
It actually was. To the point that Zach was saying, the initial comment was not made to be this way. And I think I just love the fact that so many people engaged and made it entertaining. And that's the reality. It turned a situation that could have gone so many different ways in the wrong way. There's a lot of people that are having fun with it, and a lot of people getting behind the idea. And that last video cracked me up. He really is a great follow. If you guys haven't, go check him out. And he loves Baltimore. Zach.
Yeah,
he's a huge Baltimore guy.
Huge Baltimore guy. I know he was in Jacksonville yesterday for I saw he was there too. So always out there making content. If you're not following him, go do it. I mean, what are you doing?
well, the one guy that nobody's talking about that, obviously the obvious ones, Josh Allen, Christian
Mhm.
McCaffrey. Nobody's talking about Patrick Ricard. I mean,
Well,
I feel
in
like
Kyle Juszczyk, I mean, the
Yeah.
fullback position,
yeah.
the wing T.
Honestly, who we putting at secondary though? Because like it is going to be trash. Will
Well,
Compton said to drop 8 every play. Going to play his zone every play because there's just no way we're keeping up with speed. Which is not wrong.
He's not.
wrong.
You're going to have to let Max Crosby, the Bosa brothers, and TJ Watt just go off. But so you think we were talking about this before? Riley Moss, who just came from Iowa, he's in the secondary. Harrison Smith, and then after that, the one player, sadly enough, from Jacksonville yesterday, who got Isaiah Likely caught the touchdown on, and then the second, he's actually the starting strong safety. So we're not.
Listen, it's Puka Nacua is going to be on the white team. And
Yeah.
he'll just play corner. What is that? We're just going to do that.
Yeah, we were also, me and Brad were also talking about this. Like the Puka Nacuas, the Vita Veas, guys from Hawaii, like this is where suddenly the draft would have to come in.
Yeah.
Because is there a third team we're not talking about?
Well, this is the crazy thing. I know you guys are diving more into it. You saw on the tweet when you created the graphic, Brad, it was at 21 million views. What's it at now? 30 million views?
Has to be.
So this is why we're talking about it, because the internet, just like it always does, takes it and runs for it. That's that number of 21.4 million. And that was when this was created, Brad, when you made this a couple hours ago. So it's just unbelievable that this has generated so much buzz.
I didn't realize Rashad Mendenhall retweeted Gowie's video.
That's fantastic. You know what?
So
I love that.
He's retweeting all like the funny ones. It is at 29 million views right now. That's
so
incredible.
Great. Hey, you know what?
Posted 10 hours ago, 29 million views.
There we go.
Only 4,000 likes though. It's kind of tough seeing,
but
getting ratioed hard, but everyone's having fun with it.
Most people are having fun with it. It's a interesting debate.
Mm-hmm.
It's another interesting debate. College football in general, college football playoff, what you do moving forward. And the reason why we're bringing this up is that Chip Kelly was recently talking about this, that he thinks we all talked about it, right, guys? That it just feels like the college football, at least when it's coming to making moves, recruiting, even the college football playoff, how things are decided, it's a little bit of the wild, wild west, right? So Chip Kelly actually made some comments. We have the video here we want to listen to about what he thinks college football should consider doing for their new model moving forward.
The biggest issue that you might have right now, whether it be realignment, NIL, transfer portal, and what would your plan maybe be to try to solve it?
I think they're all a problem, and I think we need to have a conference commissioner. I think football should be separate from the other sports. Just the fact that our school is leaving to go to the Big Ten in football, our softball team should be playing Arizona in softball. Our basketball team should be playing Arizona in basketball. But because football left, and they're saying, well, how do you do that? Well, Notre Dame's independent in football, and they're in a conference and everything else. I think we should all be independent in football. And you can have a 64-team conference that's in the Power 5, and you can have a 64-team conference in the Group of 5. And we separate it, and we play each other. You can have the West Coast teams, and then every year we play 7 games against the West Coast teams, and then we play the East. So we play Syracuse, Boston College, Pitt, West Virginia, Virginia. Then the next year you play against the South while you still play your 7 teams. You can play a 7-game schedule. You can play 4 against another conference, another division opponent, and you can always play against one Mountain West team every year so that we can still keep those rivalries going. Not that I've really thought about this. Not that I've a lot of spent time on this. But I think if you went together collectively as a group and said there's 132 teams and we all share the same TV contract, so that the Mountain West doesn't have one and the Sun Belt doesn't have another and SEC has one and they have another, that we all go together, that's a lot of games, and there's a lot of people in the TV world that would go through it. You can sponsor each one. Instead of calling it Group of 5 and Power 5, you can call it Amazon, Nike, bid that out to things. You do a lot of different things. But I think if we still do the same thing and take all that money, and I would do this, and I think this needs to be done, that money now needs to be shared with the student athletes, and there needs to be revenue sharing, and the players should get paid, and you can get rid of NLI, and the schools should be paying the players because the players are what the product is. And the fact that they don't get paid is really the biggest travesty.
Well, damn. I thought he good joke. Chip Kelly has jokes. That is a very thorough explanation. I think that we've constantly talked about this, how much the landscape of college athletics has changed over the last few years. And I mean, Rock, you covering more down south with Alabama and Auburn, those rivalries, obviously the SEC, that's staying put, but the rest of these schools around the country, it's changed. And it's because of what they're chasing in the football world, because the football industry obviously drives a lot of money for these universities.
No, it absolutely does. And it's really like these moves are all about the money. It's plain and simple. Agree with it or disagree with it. That is why they're making these moves. And the TV revenue and TV deals are a big reason why. I hate that USC and UCLA are now coming over to the Big Ten. Like, I think it's simply ridiculous that you're having a team for one game travel cross country to do that. And like, why are we calling it the Big Ten anymore then? Like, why are we going to be calling the ACC the Atlantic Coast Conference if you're getting teams from a different coast coming in and playing? Like, it's just like, it's really screwed up the landscape of college football. I don't know. Maybe Chip Kelly should retire from coaching and be the commissioner. Honestly, that's not a knock on his coaching at all. But I mean, the guy's got a point in what he's saying, because you look at the teams that have the benefit of traveling. Football is, it's making all the money at the university. Not all of it, but like, it's football and basketball are the two main sports that are going to probably benefit the most revenue and money wise. And then Chip Kelly talks about softball. Chip Kelly talks about the other sports. It's like, there is no reason to pull away from the rivalries, the traditional rivalries where you're playing schools, not necessarily right down the road, but a state over rather than across the country. I hate it for college football. I hate it for college athletics. I really do wish that we could stay the same traditionally, where the teams out west are playing the teams out west. And maybe like you have the college football kickoff game where you're playing an Alabama, or you're playing a Michigan, or you're playing somebody on the East Coast or down south. But to screw up your schedule completely and you're having teams all over the place and going here, there, and somewhere else. I want to see what the travel log is going to look like in like the flight trackers for these schools, because it's going to be crazy and just simply ridiculous for college athletics.
I mean, like you just said, I think the biggest thing Chip Kelly brought up is, football can go and go cross country and stuff. But when UCLA football team is flying to wherever, to go play on the East Coast, they've got a plane and stuff. Like,
nice plane too.
Yeah, they've got nice things. I bet UCLA's women's basketball team does not have as nice of a plane or travel that they get.
You have to wonder, because we don't know that.
So we don't know.
One would assume it might not be the case.
Yeah, what we, I guess, have seen from a bigger level, not just saying UCLA, that's just the example we're using because of Chip Kelly here. But let's say these schools that, now you do have to travel cross country, not just for football, for every single sport.
And I wanted to kind of bring up what you just said about we're not sure about the planes and whatnot. Take a look at the NCAA tournament a few years back, for example. I think it was 2 years ago. The men's weight room and then the women's weight room, and how big of a disgrace that was.
The food they were
and
getting.
how bad that looked on the NCAA, and the food and everything else. Even to the care packages, the welcome packages that these student athletes got. It wasn't the same on either scale.
Not at all. And it's going to be the exact, you hope it's not, but most likely we will see the same discrepancies in the football team, the men's basketball teams travel compared to the softball team, the women's basketball team, the track and field teams. Like, although I do know Pac-12 track and field is as legit as it gets.
Awesome.
So that was probably a bad example because they probably have a lot of nice stuff. But for these lesser programs and sports that aren't getting the money that a football team is getting from sponsors and from boosters and stuff, it's going to be hard to convince these kids that you are now going to be not only on the road for the majority of your season, you're going across country the majority of your season. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes from all sports, not just football.
I do love, so here's what I'll say to that. First of all, I don't disagree with anything the two of you guys had said, but if that's going to happen, it's going to start with football. So like, I would rather it just start already, and so that we can actually start to get better at this, and then have it, you know, I don't want to say the word trickle down, but I don't have a better term for that. But like, you know, just I think it could start. And here's what I'll say about the whole thing that Chip Kelly is proposing too, is that this eliminates the issues that we saw this year with like Florida State, right? Like everybody kind of gets a shot at getting into the dance that way. And so I actually really like this, but I definitely see what you guys are saying too on the other side of like who's going to get left out or who's going to get slighted because of something like this if it ends up happening, which I mean, hey, kind of looks like it's headed in that direction, but we'll obviously see. But I loved what Chip Kelly had to say about it.
It was so thorough. It was so thought out. And I think that's the beauty of it. And that's a guy that's been around the game. And that's a guy that's actually a part of the sport that is driving, you know, college athletics. That's, you know, we're not naive to it. Football drives, you know, that's why people make all these moves. But man, you know, when we were growing up, even in these cases, in this region here specifically, look at this banner behind Maryland fans. You know, the Maryland basketball rivalry was with Duke and UNC. Maryland's gone to the Big Ten and hasn't really created that same rivalry since then. And I think that's what people are afraid to miss out. Yeah, the football component's exciting, but how about everybody? How about everything going on? Like that's the stuff you miss. So it's great. Is it going to happen anytime soon? Probably not.
No.
But you know, at some point things are going to have to change. That's why we wanted to talk about it. I think that does our spicy topics though for now, Brad, if I'm not mistaken, because let's just face it, the kind of spicy topics we wanted to save else was involved with Maryland. And what better way to talk about Maryland sports than going around on our Adams Jeep, Brad?
Yeah, that's right. Adams Jeep sponsors the channel. Super pumped to have them support us in that way. Guys, if you are interested in getting yourself a Jeep, I will tell you from firsthand experience that they are awesome. I have a badass Gladiator that's got 39-inch tires. It's huge, and it gets shits and gets pretty much everywhere. So if you want to go, if you're in the market for a Jeep, go check out Adams Jeep over there in Aberdeen, Hoyne. You're not going to regret that. And again, shout out to Adams Jeep for supporting the channel.
I appreciate your little hun there at the end. I actually down in Jacksonville, I got told the other night, you don't sound like you're from Baltimore because I wasn't rolling the.
Yeah, I get that sometimes too.
Same.
Which is really weird. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I don't know if I should be offended by it or not.
People think that I'm from the South because I was born and raised in Carroll County, and we're a bit hickish out here, and sound like we're from the South, but born and raised in Maryland.
Well, and there you have it. All right, let's take a ride on our Adams Jeep now, shall we? Let's start this open. Let's open this up. This was the big news. People would consider it. Are you guys driving?
Yeah, we're driving the Jeep. Let me drive the Jeep.
Driving the Adams Jeep.
Yeah, driving the Adams Jeep.
That's incredible.
Do you know where the logo is going to be this time, Rip? Is it going to be above your left shoulder or right shoulder? Or are you going to say it's going to be put up there when it's actually already up there?
We'll put the Adam Jeep logo up right here.
Yeah.
If actually
If someone could Photoshop you and I in an Adams Jeep, that'd be fantastic.
I would have been so pumped if I could put my finger up like this and the logo could appear like that. One day we will.
Awesome.
But guys, people thought Christmas came early if you're an Orioles fan. And you guys know my opinion on this because I never thought that the Orioles were going to leave. But it has people relax a little bit. We're talking about the Orioles and the state of Maryland have come to an agreement, or it's been approved, that the Orioles lease is for at least the next 15 years with the option to be 30 years, contingent on the plan that if the Orioles are satisfied with the development areas around the stadium, they can then opt into the 30-year deal. If not, then they'll have to reassess at 15. But guys, massive news. People are excited about it, but let's just be honest here. I'm going to say this. The team was never going to leave Baltimore. I know that this is something. Actually, Rock, we talked about this when we were recording the newest episode of Rip and Rock. that I think a lot of people, there was so much anxiety that was building up over this. When we met, Rocco, was actually when we were talking about this last March in 2022.
Yeah, when I first started, I remember when I started over at Fox 45, I was telling you this, we were talking about it on Rip and Rock, that I had a Nashville station, our sister station for Sinclair, in Nashville, reach out to me about doing a story on a potential move to Nashville for the Orioles because of the feud between the Angelos brothers, John and Louie. So that whole thing, I had to talk about that. And I was just basically like, I was laughing when they came to me with that. Obviously, I get why, because it pertains to your region. It pertains to Nashville. But in my head, I'm like, the Orioles are never leaving Baltimore to go to Nashville. They're never leaving Baltimore in general. Like, I had no doubt in my mind. But with everything that happened over the last year and how long it took, I can understand why fans felt the way that they did. And there was so much uncertainty because you had John Angelos in spring training saying that it was probably going to be a mid-July, probably all-star break present for fans. They were going to get the lease done by then, or at least that was the hope. And then you had Angelos in the clubhouse after the Orioles had clinched a postseason berth, committing 30 more years to the team verbally. Then you had the lease agreement that wasn't the lease agreement.
The Clinchmas
when the
miracle.
Orioles clinched the AL East. You had John Angelos, you had Governor Westmore in the suite, and you had that it was Orioles agreed a new 30-year lease, but that was like a memorandum of understanding. That wasn't an actual like lease agreement. Then you had everything that happened last week. It was like an emotional roller coaster. It was the report that it was agreed to, then the pause because there was some pushback from key lawmakers. And then on Thursday, it was like, okay, this is it. When Governor Westmore came out, the report came out that this was agreed upon, it was going to happen. And then, but I know that Orioles fans, you guys still were holding your breath over the weekend because it was like, God forbid something happens. God forbid somebody's ticked off and somebody doesn't want this lease to happen. How much longer do we have to wait? Because the current lease was set to expire December 31st.
Yeah.
So the fact that they got it done today, you know, you can check this one off your wish list. It's a big day for Baltimore. It's a big day for the state of Maryland. And it's a big day for Birdland because the Orioles are meant to be in Baltimore. Camden Yards is the ballpark that forever changed baseball. That's not just a saying, that's true. If you've ever set foot inside that ballpark, you know, and I was saying earlier, I'm not trying to ramble, but many of you out there, you know, your fathers or your parents may have taken you to Memorial Stadium. You might have grown up going there. And then when you got older, you ended up taking your children to Camden Yards. And here's to so many more memories at Camden Yards. It's a beautiful ballpark and it deserves to be here and the Orioles home for years and years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I think people forget that Baltimore, it's so deep rooted. And actually, if we're going to go back in the history of this area and region, think about it this way. Baltimore was really devastated when the Colts moved, right? And that still resonates with so many people today. There's still a resentment, even though it's you just need that reassurance. Like say you're scared to death, but you know everything's okay. You know everything's okay. But you need someone to keep telling you, and you need to see it. So if you're scared and you're a kid that maybe the boogeyman's in the closet, you got to go open the closet and prove that nothing's there. Check the whole room. I think that's for Oriole fans. They needed to see the lease signed, and it was signed, sealed, and delivered. And Zach, I mean, you're right on the streets of Twitter and X. I mean, it felt like a lot of people. There was just this huge relief.
Yeah,
that finally. Cast over.
Yeah, and that's actually what I was just going to say. I don't necessarily think there was much celebration as much as there was just relief, because as Rocco brought up, on Clinchmas, they put up
love that
the big Clinchmas. They put up the big sign, you know, on the scoreboard. Westmore and John Angelos were in house. The Orioles and Camden Yards have agreed to a 30-year lease. There was the excitement. That was the peak. Boom. This is awesome. Then you had it's not really like an official lease. I mean, it's more like we're going to get it done.
The lease that wasn't a lease.
Yeah. Then you go by a few months. Then you have the next lease signing. We've agreed to a lease. Boom. Sign, seal, deliver. Hour and a half later. Okay, maybe it's not actually signing the lease. And then we got today. And as much as I thought I was going to see the notification that it was unanimously voted on and it was going to be this big celebratory, like, oh my God, we did it. The Orioles are in town for 30 more years. I saw it and I was like, about damn time.
Yeah, but I want to preface this. I think that because I finally got Instagram Live, I think working, by the way, guys. I think
Did you not have it? I think you were up on the whole time.
No, I don't think I was. But anyway, I've seen some parts about, yes, we did discuss that it is a 15-year lease with the option to opt in for another 15 years. I think for anyone, they just wanted a little bit of time for stability. This isn't going to be perfect, right? We know that there are so many other, the reason why this kept having hiccups is because it felt like just no one could get on the same side, at least for now, at least for this next decade and a half. You know that Baltimore is going to have a team and and you're hoping this next decade is going to be the best Orioles baseball that they've had in years. I mean, we're talking about over the last 40 years since the Orioles won the World Series in 1983. We've talked about it before, 6 times of the postseason. Yep, we are aware of that. Not back to the World Series once, but during that time specifically, there was a 5-year window with Buck Showalter where this team was exciting. 5 straight years, you felt like they could do something, right? You're hoping for this Orioles team this last year or 2 years, if you consider 2022, is going to stretch over this next decade. And at least for that, at least while you know that this team is in position to be very competitive, that this is all going to be happening at one of the best ballparks in all of the world in the sport. It really is beautiful. And this ballpark actually, that was the blueprint for everyone else.
Can we get another all-star game back here now?
Yeah.
I know. What the hell?
Can we start the petition to bring back an all-star game to Baltimore? I know, I get it. I mean, it's not even Safeco Field anymore. In Seattle, they've had 2 all-star games in the last 22 years. Baltimore hasn't had since 1993, since the birth of yours truly. No, so you were born in 93 too, right, Rock?
Yeah, I thought that's who you were talking about when you said yours truly.
Well, we know Zach was born in about 2003.
I was going to say, when Rock was talking about taking your kids to Memorial Stadium, I was like, nah, that wasn't around. No. I was like, I've never been. Not once.
Yeah.
Just talking in general.
Yeah. Well, we know that there's so many different decisions that go behind with the.
Can we talk the name change?
Wow. Out of the 4 of us, I'm the only one that actually stepped foot in Memorial Stadium. That's kind of crazy.
Well,
I'm old.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, age yourself. We're just flexing the.
I mean, I was a kid, but I was there. I saw both Ripkens play in that stadium. By the way, remember that?
Ooh,
Ryan and Cal.
Yeah, Ryan was taking BP.
Ryan didn't exist.
Yeah, I know.
Just kidding.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Well, but hey, Zach, talk real quickly. Just put people. Just explain a little bit about the naming rights to the stadium are up, but just explain quickly.
Yeah, quickly. Pretty much, it does not matter. The naming rights for the stadium, they can pursue to have a different name for the stadium. But I want to be clear, Camden Yards is not the name changing. It's the Oriole Park part. And this is still, if this even happens. So let's just say the example I've been using is Old Bay. Let's say Old Bay gets a sponsorship. It would be Old Bay Park at Camden Yards. So you can still call it the Yard. You can still say we're going to Camden Yards. It will not change. It's like Heinz Field and Acrisure. People still call it Heinz Field. Like, it's going to be the same stadium.
Arrowhead. Go Geehaw Field at Arrowhead Stadium.
Yes, everyone calls it Arrowhead.
Yep.
It will still be Camden Yards. It does not matter if they give up the naming rights to the first part.
Should do like an ESPN zone at Camden Yards or something like that. Bring back ESPN zone. I just had that on my mind all day.
The Ryan Ripken Show at Camden Yards.
That just, I mean, that's got a ring to it. But
yeah. The house that Rip built.
I love that. It's gonna be weird to not say Oriole Park at Camden Yards though. Like, I feel like it's always gonna.
Opacity.
Yeah.
And once again, this is only if it happens. This is not. They've been looking into this for quite some time now. So
I don't know about you guys, but like you say Oriole Park at Camden Yards, like I've always, like my whole life, I've just called it Camden Yards.
Yeah.
Like it's just been like, I know there are people that call it
Opacity.
Yeah, opacity, or just like, or some people
But
say
it's
the whole
Camden
thing,
yards.
but it's just like
the
it's
yard.
Camden yards.
It's the yard.
It's
Camden yards.
It's still going to stay the same. It's
Yeah.
still going to be Camden yards.
Yeah.
That's it.
People are getting too worried about something that, one, is just a potential thing that could happen, and two, isn't really even going to affect it. Still Camden yards.
Ripken Field at Camden Yards.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that at all. Thanks. But another news with the Orioles too, the dispute over Masson. There's a settlement with the Nationals and Orioles from 2017 to 2021. We're not going to dive into it. We're just giving information that has been settled now. So that will be taken care of. So hopefully everything can be moving forward.
Yeah. I don't understand enough to actually get into that.
And we're not going to right now.
Like, I could not tell you.
We're not going to. So there's that. We're going to go right around here. The Orioles also, Rock, as we were just starting this show, made a move. And it wasn't for trading. It was a trade, and it wasn't trading for cash considerations that everyone's used to trading. The Orioles landed a pitcher, and also maybe a pitcher that people aren't used to being acquired. Or that, sorry, that the Orioles were hoping there was going to be a trade, but for a different pitcher. Maybe you want to start.
Yeah, the Orioles acquired right-handed pitcher Jonathan Heasley on a trade with the Kansas City Royals for rookie ball right-hander Cesar Espinal. Here's the thing with Heasley. He's
to give the context real quickly, just so you don't go into a full topic. This was a video of Heasley, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
heaving,
letting it out. Heasley was heaving on the mound, and so the video went viral recently when the Orioles just traded for him or brought it back up. And this happens, but yes, that is who the Orioles acquired. Continue.
He better have been hungover.
I know. Well, first of all, he's human. He's one of us. Like, we've all felt like that.
Oh my
at
God.
some point in time, maybe like a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning.
Yeah,
so
we
like,
get it. Listen,
he fits in.
Yeah, he does fit in.
That's all of us. That's you, Rocco.
Isn't it a beautiful thing?
Yeah.
Guy's 26 years old. He appeared in 12 games last season for the Royals. He pitched 15 innings. And here's what Oriole fans might not necessarily like. His ERA is 7.20. So ERA is not great, but you look at some of the guys they've brought in from other teams, especially last offseason, and you looked at their numbers and you saw what they did. I mean, Mike Elias has a plan with this guy.
Do you know what Yenier Cano's
I mean, he was one of the
ERA
people that
ERA was in Minnesota.
It was terrible.
It was not in 2022. He had a 9.22 ERA.
Yeah, it was
18.69 with the Baltimore Orioles. So
it was awful.
This is not. Do not look at this and say, oh my God, this guy's terrible. He'll never do anything.
And we're not saying he's going to be the next Yenier Cano, but for Yenier Cano to come in with that ERA and then to be an all-star, that says something about the Orioles and what they did with him as a pitcher and
Felix
how they developed
Bautista
him.
was a given up on prospect.
I don't doubt that the O's can do the same thing with this guy, bringing him over. Rip, don't you think?
Yeah. So this is the part of it. The examples that you guys just provided, and also, Ryan O'Hearn. Everyone was, why the hell are the Orioles acquiring Ryan O'Hearn? Well, it's because the guy has talent. He has the ability to swing the hell out of the bat, and given the right opportunity and everything kind of clicks, you saw it. The Orioles, that's what they're doing. There's a method to the madness. It doesn't mean it's going to work out, but it also has the chance to pay off on something that, relatively speaking, is such a small move. It's not giving up a big prospect, and who knows, maybe it turns out to be something that the Orioles could regret, or it could be something that helps bolster this team, adds more depth, and gives more opportunity. That's what you want at the end of the day. It's not the sexy move. It's not the splash move. And also with the Royals have been pretty active in free agency, if you guys have been paying attention, right? What'd I do this time?
No, it's not you.
Nothing. We're just
comments.
The comments.
Oh.
The comment that we're not going to, from Houston, that we're not going to even mention.
I love it.
That
all right. I agree, though. I think that this is something. This is not,
I got it now.
Yeah. This is not a signing or a acquisition that you go into. Mike Elias is not sitting there saying, this guy is going to be our seventh inning guy. This guy is going to automatically make the opening day roster. Ryan O'Hearn didn't make the opening day roster. So let it play out. I know people are going to freak out and call this a classic Orioles move. They just want to get a bunch of guys that'll pitch a bunch of innings. It doesn't matter how they do. Let things settle in. Let him go out and pitch for this ball club
and develop.
Exactly. He's 26 years old.
Young.
This is not a guy who's 35 on the back end of his career. And we're like, okay, I know you had a 7 ERA last year. Let's see if we can revive you. This is a guy who's still trying to figure things out. We've seen what this pitching lab and the pitching coaches for the Orioles have done with guys over the past 2 years. So why not take another chance? I mean, you give up a rookie ball player, not a top prospect, a guy that a lot of guys in front of him roadblocking him, and you get a guy that maybe he contributes next year, and maybe he doesn't.
And that's the thing. You have to make risk. You have to take chances. And in some cases, you can take more. This is a low risk for the Orioles with a chance of high value. And that's what we're trying to explain. And I was seeing just mentioning some comments about it. Austin, you're right. Throws a lot of strikes. It's a good problem to have. And that's the most important thing. Can you be around the plate?
Mm-hmm.
And then can you learn how to put batters away? That's going to be the reality of it. If you can learn how to hone your skills to be more productive, that's what you want. And I was trying to finish the point of the Royals. They've been spending more in free agency. So it makes sense that they're going to make a move because, quite frankly, they're looking at, just like they did with Ryan O'Hearn, they're going, we don't see a value in keeping this player anymore. We're ready to make a move. So it seemed like a good partnership. It's not the only move the Orioles are going to make.
Yeah.
No.
But we're waiting on that Yamamoto deal to be done. If everyone's wondering,
and
then
as soon as Yamamoto goes, the floodgates are going to.
That's we were just talking about that today with this guy though from the Royals. You could potentially get a Cano where well, not comparing him to Cano, but I'm saying you get a solid outcome like you did with Cano, or it could turn into Rip. I know it breaks your heart to say this, like Fuji, who had his flashes, but really never came into his own here in Baltimore at that point in time when we wanted him to. So I think that's what fans look at. They see the high ERA. They're like, all right, what kind of pitcher are we getting and how is he going to develop here in Baltimore? And that's a fair question to ask.
Yeah. And so here's the thing. I just saw Paul just to answer this while it's here. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the comment. Thank you for the question or comment. Not really a question, more of a statement. You say the Orioles are going to make a move, but there are no quality players left in the market. Here's the thing. For the Orioles, regardless, they are looking at trying to acquire a player with team control. Because here's the thing. We just saw Jack Flaherty sign with the Detroit Tigers. We talked about it last time we were live. Jack Flaherty, I think he's actually going to have a bounce back year. But if the Orioles brought him back, the fan base probably wouldn't be happy about it. They'd be like, well, what type of upgrade is that? The Orioles have a lot of great options in-house they're going to try to figure out. And they're going to figure out if guys like DL Hall, Tyler Wells, if they're going to be starters, not be starters. And then, by the way, Dylan Cease and other players, keep in mind, Dylan Cease, Corbin Burns, Shane Bieber, these guys, I know that the realities of could they be traded to Baltimore, could they not? We don't know, but there are players that are going to be in trade talks. And I believe that that's where the Orioles are going to look first. Team control, but whoever misses out on the Yamamoto sweepstakes is also going to be in on these other players. So that's where I think the Orioles are sitting. And quite frankly, I personally believe Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez might be one of the most lethal 1-2 punches in Major League Baseball next year. And if you look at the Orioles starting rotation going into next year, it really is one of the best in the American League East. If you're buying into the fact that they build off of their successful 2023.
Well, that's what I was about to say too. Like for a while now, since the end of the season, and even really in the All-Star break, I was talking about or during the All-Star break, we were talking about this before the trade deadline. It was like the Orioles don't have to get that much better to still be an elite group that we saw last year because the core is still there. You had a couple of players without betting a farm on it, and they're still going to be a ridiculous team. So I think it's just one or two solid pitchers away. And really, it's just Mike Elias trying to figure out, okay, how can I get these guys without giving up too much? And I think that's really what it comes down to. So I really wouldn't worry if I was an Orioles fan because they're going to be just fine. The town's still there. The team as a whole is still pretty much intact. And you got other amazing players that are coming up through the farm. Jackson Holliday's more than likely going to be starting opening day. So I don't think there's anything to worry about. And we just get a couple of good solid arms. And I think the Orioles are still going to be in just just fine shape. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Go ahead, Rock.
Guys, before we move on to the next topic, Jacob Calvin Meyer, he's a great follow on Twitter. He writes for the Orioles, or writes for the Baltimore Sun for the Orioles. He's one of their beat guys. He just said nearly a year ago, the Royals needed room on their 40-man roster, so they traded Ryan O'Hearn to the Orioles for cash. Monday, the Royals needed room on their 40-man roster, so they traded right-handed pitcher Jonathan Heasley to the Orioles for a rookie ball pitcher.
And
Hey, can lightning strike twice?
yeah, but that's
Great
why
tweet.
it looked like it was a great tweet. Shout out, Jacob on that. That's phenomenal. But it's showing the fact the Royals had to make a move, and they probably were possibly going to DFA him. So the Orioles said, you know what, we like this guy enough, let us take him. And Mike Elias, you can say what you want, but that front office has done a great job. And Rick, I agree. Tyler Wells, whichever role he's going to be in, has proven that he can be successful. And I think for the Orioles, there's a lot of great
Friend of the
pieces
show.
here. Yeah,
Friend of the show.
yeah, friend of the show, Tyler.
Got the dog ears going.
He's got the dog ears going for
yeah, you
sure.
gotta hit the dog ears on.
We'll get Tyler, but we'll get Tyler back on as we move further down.
Everyone's hitting the.
Dog ears.
He's a good kid. All right, let's continue
You just
going
didn't put it on, right?
around.
Just didn't put it on you.
Hey, listen, before we get into the next topic, I feel like this is like a good break period. I've been putting out polls. You guys kind of forgot about me in the polls.
Oh, talk to us.
I put out the first poll of the night. You know, I always try to ask the really important questions.
Yep.
Does sauerkraut belong on a hot dog?
No.
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 Oh.
You guys aren't going to like my dog.
I'm the only yes. I'm only yes, but it was pretty much split down the middle. 45% said no, 54% said yes.
Mm.
What's on your hot dog, Rip?
Honestly, I'm usually a plain guy, except with Stuggies, by the way. Whatever the crab mac and cheese, is that what it is, Rock?
Yep.
I devoured that. I have devoured that, but usually I'm more of a plain guy. I know that's probably the vanilla answer, except for Stuggies. I could eat two of those in a second.
I feel like a plain hot dog's just so dry. You gotta have something on there.
I thought you were gonna say something controversial. or
No,
something.
I have
like you were gonna be like, I put mayo on it. Like, I thought you were gonna be like-
no. I have
thought you was gonna
I
say
have another
weird.
story behind that. We're gonna save that for a different time. You guys might look at me like a nutso. You might already. Rocco already has that look in his face all the time. You don't have to flex, Rocco. We're not in.
I'm literally not flexing.
For me,
It is
it's chili.
flexing.
For me, it's chili cheese and or sauerkraut and mustard. Like make it as sour as possible.
Sounds
Or
really good.
chili cheese.
Interesting. You know, what? I'll take your word for that. Maybe I'll give that a go. Maybe I won't.
He won't.
Yeah,
What's yours, Zach?
that's a no.
I'm not plain like Ripken, but I would say I'm a big just like mustard ketchup guy. Like I don't really.
You do mustard and ketchup?
I prefer like more mustard than ketchup. Also, I
Okay.
will say I've only had a Chicago dog once, and it changed my life. I will say like that also kind of ruined hot dogs for me because it was that good. Where I was like, it's not the same.
Oh gosh. Well, I see that Instagram Live's working because Big Mike, also a friend of the program, he knows the story. So we'll save it for a different day. I'm not telling the story right now, Mike. You're a good kid. Go Vens. Go Vens. Yeah.
Ketchup's the ride or die.
No, ketchup. I think ketchup's
Are
overrated.
you just ketchup?
Okay.
Just ketchup.
All right.
That's
Enough.
weird.
Enough of the dogs. Enough of the dogs. Keep
Listen,
moving.
I had another poll, so I brought up the polls because this is a good segue. I brought up another poll about the Orioles. Most people that are watching right now weren't worried about the Camden Yards going anywhere, but the poll that I have up right now is about who should be in the MVP conversation after Week 15. Dak, Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, and Big Cock Brock Purdy are on there verbatim. That word is in there. Looking at this so far, it's probably not a big surprise because most of our viewers right now are from the Baltimore region, but Lamar Jackson is leading. We do have Christian McCaffrey, and BCB is in there as well. 0 votes for Dak Prescott. 0.
Well,
I love that you put him in there. I knew you would.
That's great. Hey, we're going to dive into that in a little bit here. So stay with us because we got a lot more to talk about. By the way, I just got a report because I know this game's going to start. Brad, are you starting Geno Smith? Because apparently he might not start.
Yeah.
The Seahawks are playing
Oh my
games
God.
right
Are you
now.
kidding me? What the
They're-
fuck?
Yeah,
They're
so
starting Drew
he's
Lock,
yeah,
buddy.
they're starting Drew Lock.
They're expected to start Drew
Expected.
Lock. Right,
Uh-oh.
Rob? It says.
That's what Shefty put that
God
up.
damn it, man. What are they allowed to do that right before the game starts?
It's called strategy.
No
I know,
one
but I
likes to
thought
make
like
you
90
guess
minutes
more.
more.
And no one likes to make you guess more than the Seattle Seahawks.
Well,
Pete
no,
Carroll.
It was funny because
Geno
when
Smith
he was
is active, but
when
it
he was
said,
active, Schefter, I think, or Rappaport
Yeah.
tweeted, it was like the Seahawks are dressing 3 quarterbacks. That doesn't mean that Geno Smith's going to start. And now
Oh
this,
my God.
it's like, yeah.
I
Sorry,
mean, it's
Brad, you're
already a
beat.
long shot for me anyway, but goddamn. Hold on.
Well, you know what? That game should be really entertaining, by the way.
I hope so.
I hope it is too. The Seahawks need the game. The Eagles are trying to bounce back. Jalen Hurts is all banged up or he's super sick or whatever's going on there.
yeah, he's
Took a separate flight.
he's like weirdly like they can't figure out, or they know exactly what's sick with him and they won't say it, but they're being very vague about what he has. They're just saying they don't know what it is, but it's flu-like, but not the flu.
All right. I put Drew Lock. I switched him out in there. He's really starting now, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Oh, maybe he'll rap on the sideline. That's usually he does well when he does that.
If he does, then they win the game.
Yeah, they will.
He did well last week against the 49ers. I mean, I know they lost the game, but he did well.
I bet though, whoever Vegas is probably going to be furious because that line has to move then if Drew Lock's actually starting. I don't have it pulled up right now.
I feel like they're going to lose their mind. Yeah.
We'll see what happens. That game starts in about 15 or I guess 10 minutes here. We want to go around Maryland the rest of the way. For men's and women's basketball for the Terps, they've been idle, or it's getting more towards they're preparing. Or the women's team plays on the 20th. The men's team plays UCLA, I believe, on the 22nd. I think Brad, you said going into this Sunday that every team was not out of, or most teams were not out of contention in the NFL minus.
That's right.
Patriots.
Going into week 15, 30 out of the 32 teams were still not mathematically out of the playoffs, which is a pretty amazing number.
So I was going to say 20 out there because the Cardinals, I think, they're close to they're done. The Patriots were done beforehand, and now the Commanders, the Washington Commanders, are done. They are eliminated officially after that loss to the Rams. By the way, Rams playing well. Matthew Stafford looks like that Matty Stafford when they won the Super Bowl. So Commanders done. Really rough go. Hopefully they finish strong, or depending on how you look at it, maybe they get a higher pick. You be the judge. Around in Washington, it's still not been a great year for the Washington Wizards. That's no secret there. They are sitting at 4-21. Not ideal, and especially with the new move, as everyone's seen, the approval of the Wizards and the Caps apparently could be going out of DC, moving to Northern Virginia in 2028. We'll see what happens there. What else was news? Well, hey, the Norfolk Tides, former Tide alum here, got some pride for the Tides. Let's give a round of applause for the Tides, everyone, for a second. Perfect.
Proud of you.
So why we're bringing this up, the Norfolk Tides were voted by Baseball America as the minor league team of the year, and they were the team of the year. Best team in all the minor leagues. Such a talented roster, such a talented team, and rightfully so. They deserve it. The coaching staff, the players, the staff, everyone, and awesome for Norfolk. Really great. And that leads to another of this talent pool who eventually is going to be up there, Zach, Sam Basayo, the catching prospect for the Baltimore Orioles, who recently we talked about. If you guys haven't seen him, I would go watch some highlights of him. He is untouchable to me. Mm-hmm. He is not going anywhere, and his ceiling is, I hate to tell you this, is just going to be as high as some of the other top prospects. That's just how good he is, and 19 years old.
I know you won't say it because, like, I know you've said on Twitter you don't want to put that kind of pressure on him. But I'll say it because actually I think Austin, who was in here before, was the one who brought it up. Every time he swings, every time I watch him play, he screams Yordan Alvarez. And am I saying he is going to be Yordan Alvarez? No. That is insane.
Just own it. Just say it.
I want him to be? Yes. I mean, it would be incredible. But he has that type of power where even if he misses the ball, he can put it 450 feet dead center. So, like you said, Rip, I'm also on he is untouchable.
His upside, you play a premium position, you're 19 years old, and we don't know what your offensive ceiling is. But what we do know is it could be just as high as any of the Oriole prospects that are in the system that are going through. And that's scary because you know who the Orioles have in their system who are already in the big leagues or are on the cusp of it. So really exciting. We'll dive in more and more as we get closer to spring training.
Rocket, do you have something to say?
I was just saying, put a finger down if Sam Vasai is untouchable. That's
Oh my
exactly
God.
what I was.
That was
That's what I was doing.
that was what
He's
you were.
like, you got to do it.
Oh my goodness, Jesus.
Rocco just really wants to play
Never Have I Ever.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was
You guys must be best friends.
No.
No,
But I
not
will
at all.
say I am proud of Zach. This is a big moment that he's not wearing a hat. I know it's tough
this
for him.
is yeah, no, I think this was my third time not wearing a hat on the show. First, if you exclude the first 2 times I was on the show.
Well, it's so good. You're growing up. You're adulting.
Yeah.
I'm team
Almost
hat
24.
every single day.
We
Every
know.
single show if I can.
We know.
We
Gotta do.
I'm
We're
gonna
aware.
start putting it forward again.
Well, you should start,
you just
Yep.
You
he
wanna-
knows
you
what
wanna
I'm
say a
talking
word?
about. Yep.
How about no? Because I wore a hat every day that I played. And again, we talked about the hairline, but I own it, man. You see this big head? Who cares? Who cares?
the comment section of our YouTube a lot.
Well, okay.
They care about everything we do, apparently.
Yeah.
Rip, you need to work on that Bosley or Rogaine sponsorship, and that'll
Please.
really get the wheels
Please.
turning. Like I would.
I need this
definitely-
hairline back.
Yeah, man. It's either that or the hair transplants, the hair plugs.
23 looking. I'm
Joe
like
Buck.
this.
Joe Buck hair plugs. It's
We'll be in
might be on
contact.
that.
We'll be
Yeah.
in contact.
Also, you do look a lot more like Dwight Schrute. The more and
Without
more.
the hat.
Yeah.
Well, I also awkwardly have like when I look sideways, like the part is like
It's a
awkward
weird
right
part.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at
the part's not looking.
Joe said, "Don't let us bully you," but like we really don't.
I was gonna say I don't think you, if any,
Yeah.
like the rankings. Who do you think gets bullied most on the
Yeah.
show?
Maybe if we make maybe that should be a poll, power rankings. Who deserves the most heat on this show of the 4 of us? It's not going to be Brad. You could just make it me, Zach, and Rocco because we know the answer to
Well,
it.
if we get Niner Nation in here,
Oh, no.
Holy voice crack!
Oh,
Holy voice
oh,
crack!
that. But
You guys
just
hear that
also,
one?
if
All right, I think I might be. Never mind. Can I leave?
I mean,
I never.
you
got
like,
another
the door's
show.
over there.
That was
Actually-
like one of the worst voice cracks of my life.
if Niner Nation got in here, me and Brad would be in a lot of
Oh
trouble.
yeah, you guys would be done.
Oh my god,
Top of the list.
Yeah,
Yes.
no
They hate
Niner
you.
hater for thinking Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP.
hey, calm down on that.
Yeah.
Calm down
Yeah.
on that. You know what, guys? You're talking about football. We need to talk about this, and this is big because just happened in Baltimore. Loves their football. The Ravens, guys. Last night, Ravens, Jags, was electric. As I mentioned earlier in the show, and if you guys followed me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, I was down at the game. It was an amazing time. It's as a business trip, 24 hours. My sister and I, we try to do a sibling game every single year, and it was a blast. But I will tell you what, they call it the bank down there in Jacksonville too. Hate to tell you, Jags fans, the true banks over at M&T, over in Baltimore. And I was surprised. Brad, I told you this. Jacksonville, I give them credit. They were passionate. Wasn't fully sold out, though, especially in the upper levels, especially for a game Jacksonville really needed. The weather was not the best, but by game time, weather conditions were fine. But the biggest story of all this, guys, the Ravens get a win, and now the path to be the number 1 seed is getting, you can see it, it's getting closer and closer. And it's now becoming a legitimate possibility that this can happen. Now they got a long way to go. But let's dissect it to a lot of things happen in this specific game. Where do we want to begin with it? Do we want to begin with the fact that Lamar Jackson showed that he was unbelievable? Do we want to begin with the fact that the Ravens go into Jacksonville to a place that they really have had trouble winning? Where do we start, Zach?
I think we start with.
The worst news possible.
Whoa,
Yeah.
no! I don't want to get into that yet. Mentally, I have to prepare. But
Okay, that's fair.
let's start with it was Smoot, right? Smoot's how I forget the guy who Lamar on that throw to Likely was chasing him down. And now there's the viral pictures and video of he misses Lamar the first time, chases him down, hits him a second time, and Lamar just throws it 30 yards down the field to Isaiah Likely on the 5-yard line. And Smoot afterwards had this look, and I think he even said how, like you see him scream how, and it was this pure look of just frustration of how can I not get this man down? I mean, here you go. Boom, sack, got him. Nope, never mind. Okay, here, got him right here. Nope. Okay, interception. Wait, what? We're down on the 4-yard line now.
It was an unbelievable string of
From
events
both
there.
plays.
And actually down in Jacksonville, by the way, the amount of rage Jags fans had that Lamar Jackson couldn't get tackled. How the hell does this happen? Like it keeps happening over and over again. Why can't you? Come on, guys. It was constantly everything. It's like for Baltimore fans, we know, well, you guys, I guess, really haven't watched Lamar Jackson enough. This is every single week that he is Houdini. He gets out of it and then makes a spectacular play. And that was one of the best plays. Ravens fans are spoiled because we have become more accustomed to it. We do realize when they're special. That was a special play. And Rocco, Isaiah Likely, talk about a guy. I hated the fact that Mark Andrews had to go down. And it's been tough that Mark Andrews and Likely haven't been able to coincide together.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you got to be so pleased that Isaiah Likely's playmaking ability just seems to grow. And especially it's showing up in huge moments for the squad.
We got a feel of how good Isaiah Likely was last year when Mark Andrews was injured for a little bit and Likely really came into his own and stepped up in a big way. Since Andrews went down, Likely has done the exact same thing, and now he's got touchdowns in 2 straight games. He was the team's leading receiver last game, 5 catches, 70 yards and a touchdown. He had that amazing catch. I mean, the guy's a playmaker, and he doesn't play like a tight end. He plays like an extra receiver for the Ravens. And that's all you need to see. Like, Lamar took that man's soul.
Well, he just look how frustrated he is.
Look at the face. He's like,
that's where he said, "How?
How did you do that?"
Yeah, that's literally where you see him scream, "How?"
Look at Lamar. He's just like, and Lamar's probably laughing the whole time he's running around like he usually does, and just like firing it up, having fun on the field.
Look how defeated he looks. He's screaming.
That was another he is Houdini moment for Lamar.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like how.
It was awesome.
All right, I have a quick question for you guys.
Yeah,
because I try to explain this to my friends who are not Ravens fans.
Please do.
When Lamar starts doing that kind of stuff, meaning he gets out of the pocket, suddenly he starts running. You know, my friends who are Bengals fans, they're like, "Oh, I get so stressed out when he's running around." And I'm like, "Can we get him?" It's, I think, just as stressful for us because I trust Lamar with everything, but nobody on earth knows what he is about to do next. And yes, it is stressful because there are moments like yesterday where he could have gotten a first down for an easy 5-yard gain and throws the interception, albeit a fantastic play by the safety to come read that and make a play on the ball. All sunshines and rainbows when Lamar starts at least
improvising.
Yeah, when he starts improvising, everyone thinks, it's this magical, like, oh, it's got to be so fun to watch as a fan. It is very fun to watch after I know it went well. But when your quarterback is running 18 yards behind the line of scrimmage, even though I know Lamar's going to make something happen, it's a little stressful.
It is. You really are on the edge of your seat for
60 minutes.
Better, worse, whatever it may be. And truly right now, especially, and this is the reality of it, the offensive line was and Lamar Jackson, they were under duress the entire night. The Jaguars, Josh Allen was getting home, and they were right in the face of Lamar Jackson on so many different occasions. And this is what makes Lamar Jackson so special, right? Is the ability to extend plays, and you live with the bad. Just like with Buffalo, you live with the bad with Josh Allen. But Lamar Jackson, the reason why he's so special is because of what he's accomplishing. But let's talk about the defense here for a second. Before I fully give the compliments to the defense, because that second half, besides that one broken play, really was great. Now, the Jaguars in the first half, they shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. McManus missing 2 field goals. Trevor Lawrence fumbling on his own. Thank you very much. In a position where they're going to score again. And then that whatever the hell happened, the clock mismanagement at the end of the half, that's so many points off the boards for Jacksonville. And what I love with the Ravens is, we've talked about it before, they didn't beat themselves. Yes, Lamar Jackson had 1 pick. So what? But overall, the Ravens put themselves in a position, and Jacksonville was the sloppier team. Therefore, the Ravens won. Now let's dive in more to this defense. And the biggest play of the game, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong with this, the biggest sequence for me before that Lamar Jackson played, They forced the Ravens to punt. Instead of kicking that field goal 55, 56 yards,
Yeah.
Stout pins them deep. And that defense, they didn't give the Jags any life on that drive. They punted from the end zone. Keaton Mitchell has that big run then Lamar has his play, and all of a sudden the Ravens are up 2 scores. And then they forced another turnover. And that place being down there, I told you guys, people were leaving with 7-8 minutes to go in the game.
Yeah.
And really that defense just continued to just, besides that one play in that second half, they were just tremendous the rest of the way.
Can I just tell you, can we get into the Keaton Mitchell conversation? Because you actually put in our little group chat something about Keaton Mitchell before I even saw it on TV.
Yeah.
I think television was delayed,
Mm-hmm.
by a little bit. And then you said, did you guys see that Keaton Mitchell play? I hope he's okay. And then I saw it like seconds later. So like my heart's already sinking. He was also on my fantasy football team. Just another one with another season-ending injury. But man, that was really brutal, and it was almost kind of like no question about what happened there and the injury that he has. It's just like, it sucks, man. Really feel for Keaton Mitchell. But I think the big question is, what do we do about the rushing game? Is it Melvin Gordon? How do we feel about the run game now that we don't have Keaton Mitchell, who was so explosive? It was kind of like one of those things where, yeah, we had Gus the Bus, and he did fine. He did well. But Keaton Mitchell was kind of like that X factor behind the line of scrimmage. So what are you guys' thoughts on that? How do the Ravens move forward without Keaton?
So first off, being at the game, and also Houston, you're right. The Jaguars, their fans in general, very, very hospitable being down there. No doubt about it. Now the Keaton Mitchell play, it was people around. Again, you don't watch the Ravens. Who would know then an undrafted rookie running back on the Baltimore Ravens if you don't follow the team? And then seeing the plays. And after he had that big run, everyone was asking, who the hell is that? That guy seems special, right? And I even tweeted that out. And I actually had that video of the run. Maybe the quality is not the best. But I said, yeah, he's a guy that is special. Waited his turn. It's a guy that you wanted to root for. It was a guy that everyone was excited about. And then when the injury happened, you could feel the entire Baltimore community just heartbroken for him, because he was injured in the preseason, or he showed what he can do in the preseason, injured to start the season, is starting to gain all this momentum, and then this happens. So you feel for Keaton. It's going to be a tough injury or a tough road to recovery, but everyone's behind him and hope the best for him. Now, what it means, well, someone's going to have to set up. Justice Hill ran hard. Gus the Bus. The Ravens did what they had to do when they had the lead, run the football and put the game away. I still think that's going to be the case, but I do think they're going to have one more back and but I do think it's going to be Justice and Gus are going to be back to what it was kind of for that Lions game when the team was playing well. I kind of envision that. What do you guys think? We'll start with Zach.
First, the Keaton Mitchell injury. When it happened, like I tweeted out that I wanted to throw up. I physically, like, hands on my knees, like I was in physical pain when I watched him go down, because he's one of those guys where back in May, undrafted free agent, I remember I sent the text to a group chat and I was like, man, this guy from ECU, he's legit. And I was like, he's going to be something. I was like, just watch. And then watching him, like you said, Rip, he showed us what he could do. He had the setback. He fought through it. He over and over again waited his turn until he got his opportunity. And from the second he stepped foot on the field, he was a difference maker. And he took off and he was completely taking over as running back one. He was getting the most touches, getting the most snaps. And for it to happen on a play where, unfortunately, if he didn't misstep, he may have even housed it, was just a gut punch, because I didn't even feel, and this is why I was explaining to one of my friends who's a Steelers fan, because he asked me about it, and I was like, I didn't feel bad about what the Ravens are losing on the field, because like we've just said, I think the Ravens are the best rushing attack in the league, and the reason for that is Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, as long as he's the quarterback, the Ravens will be the top rushing attack in the league. I don't see that changing. what hurt the most is seeing what he went through and seeing the whole city come behind him and support him and kind of take him in as our own. And like, this is our guy. This is the guy that we all love, that we're all backing, the underdog. And then for it to happen to him, that's where it really felt like a gut punch. But it's on to week 16. I mean, we talk about how well he was coming on. He's only played in the past 6 games. So they've played this season without him, and they're going to have to again. So it's next man up. Melvin Gordon, I know they said, is going to be activated. He's going to be back. So now let's just, at this point, it's same thing that we said when Mark Andrews went down. It's next man up.
I'll ask this, Rock, for you. I agree with you, Zach. I think as long as Lamar Jackson is quarterback, that's a running element you're always going to have. But are you then, with this injury with Keaton Mitchell, is there a worry with the running backs, or would you be more worried about where the offensive line, Rock, is at this point? Because I think that the rushing game is going to be fine, but I think that the offensive line, as we saw, there are some issues with protection. And I know that the only reason I'm bringing this up is not to say, no, it's passing and rushing, but in order to not become so dependent, you got to be able to protect Lamar when you're trying to get back downfield. And the Ravens could not because the weather was an issue last night. They couldn't push the ball down the field for the majority of the game because they didn't have enough time to let plays develop.
The offensive line has been banged up. You've had injuries on the O-line. Ronnie Stanley, especially. I'm not convinced he was even close to 100% going into this game. He's battled through injuries. He hasn't been great offensively. I mean, on the offensive line is what I'm saying. And he's now dealing with a concussion. So they've been, even since last week, John Harbaugh basically said like he was working guys in, like the Patrick McCarrys, the Daniel Fauleleles, because he wants his guys fresh for the end of the game. But I'm not like, is that going to mess with the chemistry on the O-line? I'm not sure. I think Patrick McCarry is a great fill-in for Ronnie Stanley if Ronnie Stanley can't go. Patrick McCarry has proven he could you plug and play him at any position at tackle. You could put him at guard. You could put him really anywhere on the offensive line, and he's going to step up and block to the best of his ability. And that's what they expect from him. But the O-line does simply, like you said, Rip, the injuries or the fact that they're a little banged up, it's been killer. I think that the run game is going to be, I don't want to say fine without Keaton Mitchell. I think they're going to be okay, though. I think it's what's that?
I would go as far as to say they're going to be fine.
I think they're going to be fine.
I mean, they played most of the season without him. I mean, is it going to be a step back? I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm getting at. Like he does, like to Brad's point, he adds that spark.
Yeah.
He adds that energy. He adds that big play feel. Like he's averaging nearly 8.5 yards per carry. What he's able to do when he gets the ball is like, I mean, and he turns it off. And the fact that he was saying on the Ravens, like their lounge podcast, that he hasn't even ran the fastest he's ran this season was crazy, because that guy is so quick. It's like he shot out of a cannon. Yeah. So it's a heartbreaking injury for the Ravens, for Keaton Mitchell, because of what this guy came into this, like onto this team with, being an undrafted free agent, signing with the team, having the setback, kind of being an afterthought. Like, you know, there were people like Zach and people in the flock that were like, they were so confident that this guy was going to be great. But at that point in time, you have 5 running backs with experience on the depth chart: JK, Gus, Justice Hill, Melvin Gordon, and then Keaton Mitchell. And it was like, all right. I remember asking him, like, you're going to be, you know, solid on special teams and then find your way. That's what your role is going to be to start. And he's like, yeah, he was okay with that. But to see him develop and to see him, like Zach said, like Baltimore has taken this guy in as their own, it's been really cool. But yeah, Rip, I think the O-line is something you need to really look at. Yeah.
Well, because the point of bringing that up, Jaguars, obviously they are one of the best run defenses in the league, regardless of the results last night. The Ravens did do a great job, but it's going to be when they have to face these really prolific pass rushes, and you're going to have some really tough tests. You're playing, it's starting on Christmas Day. You got the best team in the NFL and the NFC, and we do think that the Ravens can beat anybody, but that's going to be a great task. That's going to be a very good challenge to see where the Ravens are. And then you got Miami, which very well could be the number 1 seed on the line. So time will tell. The boys are, but the first things first, boys got the dub. I also love, side note, they played a ton of Ludacris down there in the stadium. I was thrilled about that. They were playing some jams down there. The vibes were high. The Ravens flock always travels well too. It truly, I think Baltimore, when I say that the experience at M&T and the Ravens community, Baltimore to me is one of the most impressive. I know you can say I'm biased, but come on, let's be honest. You go around and look at it. This fan base is so passionate, and they believe the guys, and they want to see the guys. That's the whole thing. The whole Keaton Mitchell thing too. It's because people, the community, they make the guy feel loved. The Ravens are all about family. That's what brought him in, and the Mitchell connection, and then the fan base feeds off of that. It really is fun to watch. Yeah, I'm with you, Luda. We need to get that video of Luda coming back down from the rafters in Atlanta. That kind of touches with the Ravens, but what kind of dives into, we talked about Lamar Jackson and Chris Collinsworth and some of the other NBC, not NBC, the talking heads on all the
NBC.
No, but NBC, but ESPN, all these groups are so high on Lamar Jackson's playmaking ability. We think that Lamar probably does more for his team than any other player, but he might not be the MVP this year. But it's probably not going to be Dak Prescott after that loss to the Bills.
I think we should just let Brad have the floor on this one.
Brad, I know
he's got something
Brad,
to say.
yeah, you've been waiting for this because you know where we're going with it.
Yeah, I actually put in the poll, in today's poll, who should be the NFL MVP after week 15. We finally got one vote for Dak Prescott. Lamar Jackson's in the lead here. Christian McCaffrey comes in second. Big cock Brock Purdy is also in there, coming down towards the bottom of the list. It's got just as many votes as Dak Prescott does. But Dak Prescott did exactly what I thought that he was going to do. And a lot of people, and look, I'll admit this too. A lot of people not putting the yesterday's loss on Dak Prescott. But the fact of the matter is that he didn't throw one touchdown, and he actually threw an interception in that game. It was pretty bad for overall. The one thing that the biggest takeaway that I will give on that game from the Cowboys Buffalo game is that the Cowboys this is my bold prediction. Cowboys are going to get in the first round of playoffs and get knocked out, especially if they go up against a physical team like the Bills or the 49ers. They're not going to face in the first round, but if they go up to all of the teams that the Cowboys have lost have been to physical teams that punched them in the mouth. Philly did that at home, and I think now the Cowboys are 3-3 on the road, something like that. So it's not
all losses on the road. They have 4 losses on the road.
Sorry, yeah, all losses on the road. You're right. Yep.
To your point, and also Josh Allen that game. To your point, Josh Allen was 7 of 15 for 94 yards. It's that they ran all over Dallas.
Yes. Now, I will say that that's not a recipe for the Bills to keep doing. And the only reason I say that is because the Cowboys don't have big boys up front. You look at Micah Parsons, and he's probably one of the biggest guys on that defense. The rest of them are pretty small. The Cowboys have bought in and went all in on speed and didn't do really much elsewhere. You look at a team like the Ravens, really anybody in the AFC North, all those defenses have big dudes that will punch you in the mouth. The Bills did the same thing. You're just not going to go deep into the playoffs, in my opinion, with the size of that Cowboys defense. It's just not going to happen.
It might not. It might not, and time's going to tell. But clearly, that's a part for Dallas. Where everyone's talking about, can they go on the road and win? Because they got spanked. They got peppered on the road again. And don't look now. Buffalo, Bills Mafia. Not that not only could Buffalo make the playoffs, Buffalo could still win the AFC East.
That might be their best chance to get in the playoffs. I know they were talking about last night.
They have to beat the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so they're going to have the Dolphins lose at least one more game. So they're going to be – Buffalo's rooting hard for the Ravens. I'll tell you that. Mm-hmm. But why don't we – the reason why we brought up Dak in this specific case is the quarterbacks that people were referring to, Lamar, Brock, Dak Prescott. But I know, Brad, and I know you, Zach, believe there should be more non-quarterbacks involved in the MVP award. And I agree. I'm with you. But even some of the other talking heads, specifically, I believe, Brad, it's Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah.
Has a specific take on who he thinks the current MVP is of the league.
Key front runner today, sir.
I would tell you Christian McCaffrey at the particular moment. I think it's a toss-up between him and Lamar Jackson. I think it's that close. That's where I'm at with it. Christian McCaffrey said 13 touchdowns run, 7 touchdown catches. You sitting up there looking at this. Marshall Faulk in 2000 was named league MVP that season. He was one of the few people that had ever done that in a single season, Shannon. And you got O.J. Simpson and Chuck Foreman, both in 1975, when O.J. Simpson finished runner-up to MVP for Fran Tarkenton, where you see those kind of numbers being brought up here. Christian McCaffrey, first rushing yards, first with 1,292. Scrimmage yards, first with 1,801. Total touchdowns, tied for first with Monster to Miami. And rush yard per attempts, he's at 4th. And then I got to take into account what did Purdy look like when Christian McCaffrey was out, when Deebo Samuel was out, when Trent Williams was out. And I got to say, wait a minute now, I got to look at the consistency and the amount of games they win when Christian McCaffrey, I think they only lost one damn game when he's been in the lineup, healthy and ready to go. The fact is, I think about the impact that he's had on Purdy and on the rest of Kyle Shanahan's offense, and that's where I'm at with it. I know Lamar Jackson's been sensational. He could win it. There's no doubt about it. Last night certainly didn't hurt his chances. We saw what he's capable of doing. But right now, I'm looking at Christian McCaffrey and what he's bringing to the table, and that's what I'm looking at.
Well, I can't say that I disagree with you, Stephen A., but I'm going to go Brock Purdy. Now, if there's ever a year a non-quarterback can win the award, because nobody's going to have that 45, 5,000 yards like Patrick Mahomes had last year. But I got Brock Purdy. What he's been able to do, number 1 in touchdown passes, number 2 in passing yards, number 1 in QBR, and he's on the best team in football.
Here's the argument to make. When they struggled and they lost 3 in a row, Shannon looked at it, and Deebo was out, and Trent Williams was out, and Shannon highlighted how Brock Purdy looked ordinary at that particular juncture. That's the argument to make against Purdy for MVP. The fact that there was a cushion in this season where you were able to look at him and say, nah, he's not. He needs all of this in order for him to look the way that he looks. Now, you were saying that's not fair because anybody that loses their main weapons, they would struggle. But we were saying, wait a minute, you got to.
Yeah, and for me personally, I agree with, which doesn't happen very often, every single thing that Stephen A. Smith said. If you take certain players away, and we look at Lamar Jackson, he's still putting up those numbers that he is with losing Mark Andrews, with losing J.K. Dobbins at the beginning of the season, with losing big-time players that would make differences on that ball club, and Lamar Jackson is still balling out and still churning out wins. I just don't see, and we've already seen it, how Brock Purdy would be in that conversation if a CMC or Deebo was out, because we've already seen that happen. So, again, I think Christian McCaffrey, I do agree, but belongs at the top of that list. Lamar Jackson, number 2. I kind of go back and forth with that because the way that I saw Lamar Jackson playing last night was just absolutely ridiculous. If he goes into San Francisco on Monday and balls out, it's over. Lamar Jackson's the MVP, hands down.
We discussed this last time. I thought whoever of the quarterbacks initially, Dak, Brock, and Lamar, played well down the stretch. If they ran the table, I think that would be the front runner for the quarterback. Now, the only one outside of it, and maybe this is the game, San Francisco, Baltimore. The winner of that game very well could have the MVP in it. And I'm saying the winner of that game, so I'm not saying it could be Brock or Lamar. Christian McCaffrey could, Zach, and I know you're dying and chomping at the bit there. I do want to make a point here. I would be very impressed with this if this happened. If Tua can take care of the Cowboys, the Ravens, and the Bills, it'd be a hell of a run for Tua, but I don't think it's going to carry the same value of those guys, because if the Niners beat the Ravens, I think they're going to win out, and Brock Purdy then is probably going to have a big reason behind it, or it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. Zach, I know you vote.
Hold on. Here's what I'll say to this real quick. Rick Arnold said Josh Allen has 35 touchdowns as well. And I wouldn't count out Josh Allen except for the fact that he has 17 turnovers this year. Just not. And I don't think there's ever been an MVP, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, MVP that was not on a playoff team or had a losing record, which the Bills could still have a losing record by the end of the season. I don't think that's ever happened.
A lot still to be determined, Zach. I know you've been waiting.
As a apparently known 49ers hater for thinking Christian McCaffrey should be the MVP, yesterday I watched the 49ers game, and I was specifically watching Purdy and McCaffrey. And I have to say, when you seriously sit there and watch what Purdy does in that offense, it showed me even more why Christian McCaffrey is the MVP. Because Brock Purdy, when I say this, I agree, Rip. If they win out, most likely he is the MVP. I think he is a top 5 MVP candidate. I do not think he is the top candidate on his team. Everything that Christian McCaffrey does for that team, and just in general, 1,800 scrimmage yards. I mean, in every facet of the game, blocking, running, and just all around receiving, short routes, deep routes, anything, he can do it all. And he is the biggest playmaker, I think, in the NFL right now. You can get it to him in any way, and he is going to find a way to get in the end zone. That this really matters. His anytime touchdown bets on FanDuel are like minus 300 right now. You have to put $3 down just to get a single dollar for Christian McCaffrey to score. What he is doing this year is absolutely insane. And I think it needs to be talked about more. 20 touchdowns, 1,800 scrimmage yards through 15 games?
Yeah, I mean, right now you're right. The CMC death taxes and Christian McCaffrey scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot. Also, who scores a lot of touchdown, Rock, because we talked about it, was Raheem Mostert's got 20, I think, on the year.
Insane, man.
Nuts.
Incredible.
Rock, who do you got right now for MVP?
I'm gonna first say,
Uh-oh.
Brad. Hold on. Brad brought up if a person missed out on the postseason, have they ever been MVP? There's been two times. Johnny Unitas and O.J. Simpson were the only
Johnny Unitas post merger?
He was in 67, and then OJ was in 73.
I don't know why, but I thought you said Johnny Unitas post murder, and I was like, wrong guy.
I initially thought that it was post murder as well.
I was like, yeah, Unitas wasn't the one dealing with that one. Well, at first I was like, is there something about Unitas that I do not know about?
All right, Rock.
But my MVP is going to be, I don't know how you can't put Christian McCaffrey higher than he is right now because of what he does and how valuable he is to the Niners. But you can say the same thing about Brock Purdy. I'm tired of the narrative that Brock Purdy, like that's why Niners fans come at you, because you say some absurd things about Brock Purdy.
Well, what's his record without Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel?
If Brock Purdy goes out and throws for 5 touchdowns against the Ravens and beats them hypothetically, should he not be a front runner or towards the top of the list for MVP?
Well, is McCaffrey the one receiving these? Because he threw 4 touchdowns yesterday, but 2 of them were to McCaffrey. So, that's what I'm saying. It's hard to separate these two because they're both going to feed off of how well each other play. So that's why it's hard to honestly name
the
either.
Greatness.
And I am. And that's why I think that both are top 5 MVP candidates. And you need to appreciate the hell of a season that Christian McCaffrey is putting on.
I agree with the great season that Christian McCaffrey is having. But with that conversation, Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson, whoever absolutely balls out in that game is going to be the front runner. And I'm telling you what, if Lamar Jackson can go in on Christmas and beat the 49ers, he should be right at the top of the list.
I might get hate for this, and it's going to be weird coming from me, but I don't think Lamar Jackson is a front runner for the MVP.
If he does that, you don't think he should be towards the top of the list?
If he beats the 49ers, then yes, I think
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but there are people now, like when Stephen A. in the clip said it's a toss-up between CMC and Lamar Jackson. I don't see that right now. And
I don't think that's crazy to say right now at all.
I don't see that. Well, yeah, no. So I think it's one of those things where if he goes out, I think Lamar Jackson is in this conversation because of that potential, because he can go out and suddenly if the Ravens win out, like Rip was saying, you add, okay, they beat the 49ers. Okay, they went and they beat the Dolphins. Then they beat the Steelers, week 18. I don't know if they would have the starters playing in that moment if they beat the other two. But then all of a sudden you look at Lamar's whole season and you're like, this is an MVP candidate. If he splits the next two, I just don't see them putting him as an MVP.
I get it, but I just think that if maybe it goes back to when we talked in baseball in the past, it was Kyle Bradish, not being on the AL Cy Young, and he was the best pitcher on the best team in the American League. If Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are the number one seed, it's a huge reason is because of Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, it's going to be because they would have to go beat San Francisco, beat Miami, beat Pittsburgh. If that happens, I think Lamar wins it because especially how they're playing, Lamar, this would be willing his way. The numbers might not fully reflect. He might not have those video game numbers, but if he does, he'll win it.
Video game plays.
He has the video game plays. It's a great point. But here's the one thing, last thing, we'll move on. Brock Purdy has 5 games this year of 3 touchdowns or more and no picks. You can say what you want. That is absurd. He actually then, of all of this, he had a stretch of 3 games he had a stretch of 2 games where he threw 2 picks. Every other game, he's thrown 1 or 0 interceptions. If I do my math correctly, he has 7 interceptions on the season, 29 passing touchdowns. Yes, he's got great playmakers. You can also make the point that the 49ers block better than anybody else, too, in the NFL, including their wide receivers.
They love doing it. Were you going to knock a guy for having playmakers, though, and getting him the ball?
And that's the point is it's not fair for Brock. BCB, Jimmy Garoppolo was not doing this. If Sam Darnold was in, Trey Lance, they would not be doing the exact thing. BCB is killing it. He's crushing it. And quite frankly, the 49ers, if he's not playing, you can't, in my opinion, you can't plug it in, and they're not the favorite to me to go to the Super Bowl if Brock Purdy goes down.
You're going to make Ryan Ripken Show's BCB for MVP?
We could. I might pull out or Lamar Jackson, get the Baby Yoda shirt back out because that thing was fire from 2019.
Yeah.
All right.
The good graces with the fan base.
And that was, also that shirt was electric. That was the last time the Ravens had the number 1 seed, and I know they want to rewrite the script on that. But that was one thing around the NFL. Otherwise,
wait, so he only had 2 games with 2 interceptions?
Correct.
Those were the 2 games that Debo missed, by the way. I just looked it up.
I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah. So just putting that out there. When his weapons aren't there, he has his worst games. So as we were moving on.
Wow. So that's just foul. That's just foul.
I will
die
on this hill that Christian McCaffrey needs to be the MVP.
That's fine. CMC could definitely be the MVP, but I want Brock Purdy to eventually come on here, and I want you to tell him why you don't think he's good enough.
Why I think he's only a top 3 MVP candidate instead of top 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an insult.
Yeah, I know.
That's the first time I think I've heard you say top 3. You are.
I'm a huge Niners hater, apparently.
All right. Hey, let's go around the NFL here, and let's get out of here in a second. But the first thing that we want to go around the NFL, Joe Flacco is still elite. I did think he was a double agent for a second, though, because he was throwing some great balls to the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
They were right to him. And I thought maybe Joe still has it for Baltimore. But then Joe had some vintage Joe moments, pulled an unbelievable comeback. And here's this dime throw to Amari Cooper, this big touchdown, tied the game up. And then Joe Flacco leads a game-winning drive for them to come from behind, steal the game from Chicago, even though Chicago almost had that Hail Mary at the end. And I mean, almost had it. But Joe Flacco gets another win, and the Browns. Is it just destiny, guys? Are the Ravens just going to play the Browns in the playoffs?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Also, I do want to point out quickly, it's 2023 and LeBron James, shout out Joe Flacco. So, that is
also
not
crazy.
Not something I saw 3 weeks ago happening in this season. Let's talk about a weird NFL season. We're week 15. We got LeBron James putting Flacco highlights out there.
Yeah, and a shout out.
Is he a Browns fan or a Cowboys fan or both?
It's LeBron James.
Yes,
he's from Ohio, but
yeah, he does. He just
kind of
if they're winning, yeah,
that's fair.
Just a kid from Akron.
The other part of it, not that it is, but I've had many other people tell me just how they thought as far as Joe Flacco's looks. They're like, oh, Joe's aging with wine. Like they like the great for the press conference. Like, man, Joe's a stud on and off the field. I'm like, whoa, hey now. Like I get it. He is. But people are liking the gray hair. I mean, how do you not root for Joe?
People will never understand how elite ugly Flacco was. When Flacco was like ugly before he somehow turned it around. And because he went from I'm talking the Fu Manchu, chubby cheeks Flacco before the
unibrow.
Yeah, that was Joe. Like, if you didn't love him at ugly Joe Flacco just winning MVPs, then you can't love him when he beat Tom Brady for most handsome player in the NFL like 4 years later, which is one of the greatest glow ups of all time. I will say that alone should get you on the Hall.
It might, but I'm just gonna
Fu Manchu to beating Tom Brady for most handsome NFL player. Get you a quarterback that can do both.
Can't make it up, but just Ravens fans prepare. It's gonna be Ravens Browns in
AFC
Baltimore.
Championship.
It's gonna be Ravens Browns in Baltimore.
Please no.
And man, no, we all know about January, Joe. Any other around the NFL that you guys wanted to dive into? Show of hands. Anybody have a thought, concern?
No, I think we kind of got everything that we talked about. Flacco, talked about CMC should be the MVP.
Good.
Dex shouldn't be.
Good.
Sad about Keaton Mitchell.
Rocco, I haven't seen you concentrate that hard in
Just
ever.
thinking. I'm just thinking. I'm deep into thought.
There it is.
See, like that, but that's peak. I wish I could pull that off.
Hold up, I gotta find like.
I wish I no.
Flacco.
We Brad had that up, but I wish I could pull that off. I could not do it. You guys have seen my facial hair photos; they were terrible. They were so bad. Joe did bring up though, while we're looking at some of these photos, Steelers losing to the Colts. They got more wins before they fired Matt Canada. They have now lost. They lost 2 games to teams that were 2 of the worst teams in the Cardinals and the Patriots record wise. Then they lose to the Colts, which the Colts are playing well. And how about this, guys? Maybe we end with this part. What?
Steelers are out of the postseason.
Well,
Officially-
they're out of the postseason there, but the AFC South, it's a 3-way race now. The Jaguars, the Texans, and the Colts are all tied at 8-6.
How
Who
about
would have
this?
thought?
I would have thought about that. But the other thing is too, midway through the season, a lot of people out there kind of like jawing at the AFC North because it wasn't good, and everybody thought that they were just going to be dominant. But 3 of the 4 AFC North teams are still in the playoff, are still in contention for the playoffs. And in fact, if the season ended today, 3 of them would be in it. Browns and the Bengals would take the wild card spots, and obviously the Ravens are the number 1 seed. So pretty crazy that, even through all the injuries, all the craziness, Joe Burrow's not playing, Deshaun Watson's not playing, but still the Browns have the probably number 1, number 2 best defense in the league. And the Bengals are somehow finding ways to win with Jake Browning. I mean, the AFC North is still just the AFC North, and it's kind of crazy to see how it's unfolding going down here in the home stretch of the season.
Yeah, who would have thought that the Bengals, with the quarterback with the initials JB, are now looking like they're going to be a potential playoff team, and it's not Joe Burrow. It's wild. Jake Browning, awesome story for him. There it is.
There's what I'm talking about. And what's even better is this is on a Russell Street report of when he won the most handsome man.
Are you serious?
That's amazing. Russell Street, well done.
Yeah.
Well
and
done.
it goes through all of his just glow up. It's beautiful.
Wait, go back down. That's oh my God. No, the Delaware picture.
Yeah. No, they
that right
That's an Anthony Davis unibrow.
Yeah.
You're coming up on that kind of territory with that thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that was one of the greatest glow ups of all time, and
Good
no
for
one
him.
talks about it enough. It gives me hope.
You can clean yourself up if you want.
Yeah.
AFC North, by the way, the only division in football where a team doesn't have a losing record, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah.
It's like look at all the other divisions, look at the standings top to bottom, and it's crazy.
It's been
the AFC North.
It's been the most, it's been one of the most competitive divisions
3
year
out of
after
4
year.
backup quarterbacks too are currently playing. What I'm saying is 3 of the teams are down their starting quarter. It's like what you just said, the JB thing, and then you have Flacco, and then you now have Mason Rudolph. Woo. Yeah.
Everyone's really excited there. It's safe to
Yes.
say, I think the energy in Pittsburgh is slowly deflating.
it's
We'll talk about it
deflating
more.
worse than a Patriots football.
Whoa, hey
hey-no.
now. Maybe a good way to get out of here. Well, hey, for everyone that tuned in, thanks for tuning in. It was fun tonight. We had I think we
Record
figured
night.
out. Yeah, I think we figured out Instagram Live. We're getting there. If you are new to the channel, as always, please hit that like and subscribe button. Big Mike, if you're still on, I will tell the hot dog story next time, and there will be a lot of judgment. But hey, you know what? We're it's a judge-free zone in here, right, guys?
No, I
Nope.
judge so much. in
Yep,
here.
they do. Okay, well, thank you guys as always. We will be back on Thursday before the holidays to talk about another episode of topics. But until then, you guys have a great rest of your Monday night, and we will see you for episode 39 of the Ryan Ripken Show.
See you guys.
Peace.
Couple of good kids and Rocco.